Hello, mathletes. I hope you enjoyed the beautiful weekend. We are going to be working on multiplication this week again. We're going to be putting it all together. On Friday, you made a multiplication toolkit. You're going to need that today. So please make sure you have it. Press pause and go and gather it. So in your toolkit, you're going to need your collection. Remember, I talked about your collection has to be the same units. In here, my collection is a bunch of erasers. You might be using all dried beans, or you might be using all pennies. It's whatever you have around the house, but it's in equal units. You're also going to need your number cards. So over here, you're going to have your numbers from 0 to 10. Over here, we're going to have our digit cards. Since we're working with 3s and 4s, I've only used the 3s and 4s today. You were supposed to make 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s, but for today, that's all we need. So the other thing you're going to need is your dot paper. This is actually going to be a dry erase board. I just took some recycled plastic and stapled it to the dot paper that I made, so that way we can use it over and over and over again. So let's review what we did last week. Last week, we worked on skip counting. We looked for number patterns in our 100th chart. We orally counted skip counting, but we also then worked on skip counting using equal groups. So we put it all together. As you can see here, there are 7 fingers. Those 7 fingers are representing groups. So we have 7 groups. So here's an example of 7 groups of 4. If we were to hold up our 7 fingers and skip count, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, we know that 7 groups of 4 equal 28. That's 7 times 4 equals 28. So again, last week we worked on number patterns and skip counting, and then we even skip counted on our fingers to help us with our multiplication facts. One of the other things we worked on was visual models. Visual models are so important because they show how multiplication is different from addition. Here's an example of arrays. Arrays look an awful lot like our dot paper. They have rows and they have columns. So we did visual models with arrays and dot paper. We also showed equal groups on number lines. So those were some visual strategies we used last week. All right, we're going to do our warm-up now. This is where we're going to practice using our fingers to represent equal groups or our dot paper. Let's start with our fingers first. We're going to bring our stack of numbers from 0 to 10 and our digit cards, just using the digits 3 and 4. I'm going to write the word groups of first. So I'll do, and then you'll do. I have 7 groups of 4. So I know that my fingers represent groups. So I'm going to hold out 7 groups. Then I'm going to skip count by 4. You can do it with me for extra practice. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28. I know that 7 groups of 4 equal 28. Will you try with me this time? 8 groups. So your fingers are going to represent 8 groups. So have 8 fingers out. You're going to do 8 groups of 3. So I might even just do, because I'm really good with my doubles. So let's skip count. Ready? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, I was like, what are we counting? 21, 24. I was like, wait, am I doing 3? So we know that 8 groups of 3 equal 24. But did you see how in the moment I was like, wait, what am I skip counting? And I had to look back at the digit. You might have that happen to you too. This next one you're going to do all by yourself. You're going to show me 5 fingers, which represent your group, 5 groups of 4. And I want you to count out loud. So you have your 5 fingers and skip count. Great. Wonderful. So remember, let's now try using our dot paper to also represent multiplication, because we are dealing with equal groups. And you know, Miss Costello, I love anything visual. I have a dry erase marker somewhere here, which I can't find. It's green. My handy assistant has found it. Thank you. So let's see what we're going to do with our dot paper. Do you have your dot paper ready? So I know that's a 6 because there's a line underneath. And I know 3. Let me write 6 groups of 3. So here we go. I'm going to do it first. You can watch and do if you'd like. So I know this is 1 group of 3, 2 groups of 3, 3 groups of 3, 4 groups of 3, 5 groups of 3, 6 groups of 3. So 6 groups of 3 represent what? Skip count. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. So we know that 6 groups of 3 equal 18. Let's try another one. We're going to do 5 groups of 4. So 1 group of 4, 2 groups of 4, 3 groups of 4, 4 groups of 4, 5 groups of 4. So you can skip count those. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. We know that 5 groups of 4 equal 20. Now, the wonderful thing with your multiplication toolkit is you can practice this with your number and digit cards at home. So I would hope that you're going to continue that practice, that warm-up. Fantastic. So I'm going to move these away and we're going to go to our next steps. For the next ones, you're going to need your collection. So now you're going to use your collection. Your collection might be all Shopkins, or it might be all dried beans, or it might be all beads. Mine happens to be all erasers. Whatever it is, you want the units to be equal. Now if you see over here, show 5 groups of 3. So I'm going to make 5 groups. 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups, 4 groups, 5 groups, and they're going to be 5 groups of 3. The important part of this concept is realizing that when you're doing multiplication, all your groups are equal. And in fact, I know I drew circles, but I'm kind of setting them up in an array. Doesn't it look it? Do you see the rows and columns? That actually was a happy accident. Okay, so let's talk about all the different ways that you can show 5 groups of 3. You can do it with repeated addition. 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, right? You can write it that way. You can also write it as 5 groups of 3. You can also show it as 5. And we know this time symbol basically means groups of 3. You can write it as 5 threes. That might be one that's not as familiar to some grown-ups out there, right? Because we learned with just facts. So these are all different ways. And then let's practice skip counting. 3, 6, 9, good. 12, 15. So we know that equals 15. That might be out of the frame, but you know what I'm writing. So this is another way to show it. So let's go over here to the next page. Do you have your collection? So now on your paper, I want you to show 6 groups of 4. You can pause the video now and do your 6 groups of 4. So pause video. All right, you're back. So with the rest of your day, you can actually continue doing this, continuing all the practice that we've used in this video using your number and your digit cards. You can also go on to your must do, and your must do work is in Google Slides today. So you have lots of opportunities to practice making equal groups and to practice your multiplication. Enjoy. Thank you all for trying your best.